Alright guys, another day, another strength. Got another video for you here today. A 5-step plan for muscle growth this time. So it's very simple, right? If you want to grow a muscle, there's a few simple things you need to do. Most people, they make it more complicated than it needs to be. Similar to the dieting video I made, you are the best data point that you have. So you got to kind of try things out, see what works for you. In the beginning, basically everything's going to work, right? Because you're a novice, you respond to anything. And that's going to work until it doesn't. Then you got to try something else. Right. So the better the program is when you start. That's why I recommend the starting straight and obvious linear progression, obviously, because it's very scalable. It's going to work for a long period of time. Then the longer it's going to last, obviously. But anyways, here's the process, right? Step number 1, choose a muscle that you want to grow, right? And then step number 2 is choose a movement pattern that works that muscle. So after you've identified the target muscle, stop thinking about the muscle, essentially, right? So if you want to grow your biceps, you have to choose a movement pattern that works that muscle. So you can start with something larger, like a chin-up or a row, a gross motor pattern, right, compound movement. And then you can work into something more specific that puts more stress on just the biceps. So you could do like a bicep curl. And then once you have your bicep curl, then you can get more complicated and split it into tinier little pieces, right? So you could have like a stretch-based curl, like a preacher curl or an incline dumbbell curl. You could have a squeeze-based curl, like a barbell curl or easy bar curl. Then you can even include stuff like for the brachialis, so like hammer curls. Right, so you can kind of incorporate different movement patterns for that muscle. So start at the top, right? Compound, then go down to more isolation, then go down to even more isolation essentially. And then just based off what you want to do with the muscle, if the compound movement is working great and it's growing, great, keep going. If you're concerned with aesthetics and your torso muscles are growing faster than your arms, then include more of the isolation stuff and ramp it up like that. Step number 3. Perform that movement pattern the same way every time. This is super, super important, right? And it's the same thing with training for strength. Talk about it all the time. You want to make sure you're not like squatting to depth one day, then you add 5 pounds, then you're squatting in parallel, then you add 5 pounds, then you're squatting inch above parallel, and then over time you're half squatting, quarter squatting. So you've added a bunch of weight to the bar, but you also shorten your range of motion to compensate for that. So did you really get stronger? I don't know, right? Same thing with muscle growth. You have to perform the movement pattern the same way every time in order to know that you actually gain muscle. So you can't be, doing a strict barbell curl one session, then you add 5 pounds, then you start cheating a little bit, and then by the time you get to 100 pounds, you're like horsing the weight up and down on the verge of tearing your bicep. So don't do that. And then step number 4, this is the most important step after all that stuff. You're gonna add reps, sets, and weight to that movement pattern over time. And you can do it in any order. It's easiest to add a set, in my opinion, then you can add reps, then you can add weight. But I like to start with reps, even though it's harder than adding a set. So make sure that you can add reps up to a certain rep cap. So classic double progression, I've talked about that before. You might do 2 sets of 8 to 12 for your bicep curls. Try to get 2 sets of 12. Once you get 2 sets of 12, add weight to the bar. And then once you're at that next weight, you might not be able to get 2 sets of 12. So let's say you get 10, then 8. Next week, try to get 10 and then 9, and just add a rep. If you get the same reps again 2 weeks in a row, so 10 and 8, and then the next week you get 10 and 8 again, add another set, and then just hit the bottom of the range, so just hit 8. And then the next week, try to add a rep. So on and so forth, until you can add weight to the movement pattern, right? And then step 5, also very important, eat and sleep enough to grow muscle. So this is the stuff you're doing outside the gym, which is a lot more of your day than being in the gym, as it turns out. So make sure you're doing that. But basically, once you've got steps 1 through 3 down, you got a muscle, you got a good movement pattern that works that muscle, and then you're performing that movement pattern the same way over time, right? Being consistent with it. After that, you just kind of recycle steps 4 and 5. So you overload it at rep, sets, and weight, and then you eat, sleep, and recover. And then once you plateau, all you really have to do is just either change out the movement pattern, or you can even keep the same movement pattern, but change the implement, for example, right? So if you're doing a flat bench press and you stall on that, and it's been like 2 months and you can't add weight to it, you can't add reps, then go ahead and start doing a flat dumbbell bench, right? It's the same movement pattern, but you're just kind of alternating the levers, tweaking the levers a little bit, right? Adjusting the range of motion and the weight. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, goodbye.